Yeah, I've heard a number of the 60 plus players talking about how they can use their G5 and stuff ships to do some of their dailies and things like that. So a lot of them, or at least some of them are building the 63 ships because they're cool and new. But the ones who had a lot of the newer, or the ones the recently 60 players who are just moving right through, they're building the 63s more so because they don't have that maxed out G5 epic. The ones who've been 60 for a while and they have that million and a half Dideritics or, Enterprise or whatever the case is, who've been 60 for a while, I'm hearing from a number of them that they're skipping the 63s and just moving straight or trying to move straight to 66 before they stop and build a new faction ship, just because the 63 isn't much of a power difference between their maxed out ship. So they're just going to keep pushing ops and pushing ops, which is why we've got a lot of these guys who are already 64 and 65 and things like that, because they're not slowing down to build that 63. They're just going straight for 66. Denver agrees. He's heard the same thing. It looks like whales say G6 uncommons are skippable garbage. Yeah, and that's the thing. If you spent the time, like if you just got to 60 in the last month or two, and you really haven't done much upgrading, maybe your Daenerys is like tier 4, tier 5. Maybe then you'd consider it. We can do a comparison, at least a base stat comparison. Bad Wolf, you couldn't do your dailies because your research was not maxed out. Okay, that could also be a thing too. Maybe that's more of a tipping point than having the ship maxed, also having the research maxed, or at least enough of it done. But let's see what we got here. Like if we compare a Daenerys, and what's the 63? G6 uncommon, the Negvar. There we go. We'll do battleship to battleship here. There we go. Now, obviously, the 63s do have, some of the hazard resistance, which may be helpful. But as far as we don't have a blueprint costs unavailable, interesting. I think they're what are they like, 10 or 12,000 a piece though. I want to say they're 12,000. So 150 times 12,000 per shard is 1.8 million, which puts it slightly cheaper than the Epic. Now you've got obviously the build time and stuff you can't speed up, and the material costs are different because it's all of this Sigma resources. But let's just take the ship right out of the box at tier 1. And that's again, this is assuming you've gone to 63, so therefore your research and things won't matter because obviously at 60, this ship versus 63, the power levels would change quite a bit here. Looking at, your DPR straight out of the box, you're pretty similar. This one's obviously the G6 has a much higher cost to it or a much higher value to it. And the values going up, everything across the board is just much higher stats. But, you know, we're going to assume you've had this ship for a while. If you compare it, what are we looking at right out of the box versus what you already have? It's not an upgrade. Power level, attack, defense, officer slots, it's got more shield and hull health, which is nice, but the DPR is, 30% lower. And you have to really, what would you have to get this thing up to get the DPR to match? We're talking about like tier 6. Actually, got to go one more. Got to take it to tier 7. So if you already have that G5 Epic maxed out because you were sitting at 60 for a little bit, Looking at what your base stats are here, relatively speaking, you would have to build one of the new 63 uncommons, spend all of these materials to get this thing all the way up to tier 7, and this is quite a bit. A million uncommon, you know, 6 ore, rare ore. It's a lot of materials there. A lot of this Sigma titanium, 63 million. That's a lot. Obviously, you also can't use the traditional speed ups and things when you've got this level of tier up time and build time and things like that. And even looking at your repair costs, and that's basically just a break even. You know, you've got more shields, you've got way more hull health, and your damage is about the same. So yeah, somewhere between 6 and 7 is kind of your break even point. So for those guys, they're just going to keep what they have and push right on past it. If you're a newer player, just jumping in, you'll probably, like we did when we moved from G5 to G6, I'm sorry, from G4 to G5, people just blew right past the Tribune, right? They went 49, 50, 51, let's just go right to 53, and I'll just get, you know, a 53 uncommon to go with my Pilum or my Coronar or whatever I got, and I'll be fine there. We'll just skip the G4 epics. This is going to kind of be a similar thing. If you already have one and you've got it tiered up quite a bit, you're just going to keep using what you've got. And if you don't have one, well, then you're just going to blow right past it and try to get to here and just get one of these things going. So you just got the G5. Oh, the first week of September. So yeah, you've only had about 2 months to do the research. Okay. Saw a graph where the Enterprise D versus the Akira, both till tier 6, have the same DPR, but further upgrades favored the Enterprise. That's interesting, Denver Stone. Okay. Well, the Akira is an interceptor? Maybe not. Yeah, the Akira is an interceptor. So that might be slightly different. If you're comparing it to an Enterprise D, because you're comparing Explorer versus Interceptor, so there's a little bit of a difference there that you would expect just in terms of how stats and DPR and stuff shake out. But I mean, even if maxing these things out, a maxed out Enterprise D, like we said, gets you to right around that 3.3 number. Is this a maxed Akira? Only gets to 2.8? That's if you maxed it all the way out. So the Akira not doing a whole lot of damage. Maybe it's got a better or a weirder firing pattern or something to it. No, it's pretty solid firing pattern. Okay, guess it's just not putting out a lot of damage. This one's alternating 6 shots per weapon here, and then you're getting the additional torpedo firing every couple of rounds. Which this one has the same thing with the torpedo firing every couple of rounds. But yeah, you've got 4 here, 2 and 2, 2 and 2, 2 and 2, whereas this is doing 6, 6. So you've got extra shots here with the Enterprise D. Instead of getting 4 shots around, you're getting 6 shots around. And this is a better ship bonus if you've got morale on it. You're increasing, which you should realistically, even if you just have Harry Kim below deck. You're cumulatively increasing your weapon damage per round. So obviously, the longer the round goes, and obviously, you know, that ability is going to scale up as you level up the ship. 150, 200% weapon damage, somewhere in that range, right? Whatever you're getting. Every single round, stacking, 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 as long as you just keep putting morale, keeps applying or sticking. Versus, what do these have? Yeah, your ship ability just being ion storm resistance. Well, that only helps in like a handful of systems, whereas this is obviously helping anywhere in the galaxy. So yeah, the 63s, I'm sure there's a lot of players who are just skipping right past those. Bad Wolf at 1.7 million power. Your Akira can kill 61s, but your dailies require you to kill 64s. Yeah, that's going to be a challenge. So, well, there's a little quick comparison and some information on those new ships for those of you who are sort of hovering near the that goal line and are wondering, what do I do next?